Hello and welcome back to Anyone Can Learn to Code. We've learned about most of the built-in Ruby objects, such as strings, numbers, and arrays. There's another very handy object called a hash. Let's see why hashes may be useful. Imagine that we wanted to build some sort of dictionary application. It can be a very simple app in which a user types in a word and the computer returns with the definition of that word. Let's see how we might approach building this dictionary program. Let's start with an intro message. Okay. And then we will get a word from the user. We'll store it inside the word variable. So we've welcomed the user, and the user has entered a word which is now inside the variable called word. How might we respond with the correct definition? One approach you might take is to create an if statement as follows. If the word is red, then we can give this definition. Else if the word is bug, etc. While this solution may work, it's easy to see how this code can get pretty ugly pretty quickly. It's going to be one humongous if statement. It would be much better if we could create a list of words and their definitions in some neat list at the beginning of the file, and then reference that list to find the correct definition for the user's word. So when thinking about lists, the first thing that may pop into your head is the concept of an array, which we have learned about previously. Since an array is basically just a list, it may make a good candidate for storing our words and definitions. Let's see what happens when we try to store the dictionary words inside of an array. Let's move up to the top of our file and create an array and store it inside a variable called words. Let's call it dictionary words to be more descriptive. We'll create this array. We'll start with the first word, red. And what are we going to do next? Are we going to put the words and definitions together inside this array? Let's see how that would work. Let's grab this definition. So now we have an array with both the word and the definition. For the next word, we'd, I suppose, also just put it in this array. And then its definition. Now this is already very tricky, because when we look up a user's word, we'd have to dig into the array and look at the next element in the array and figure out that that's the definition of the user's word, so this is not really ideal. Which brings us to the hash. The hash is similar to an array in the fact that it's a list, but instead of being a list of individual elements, it's a list of paired elements. The elements in these pairs are then associated with each other, and this is the perfect way to store our data. Let's see this in action by creating a new hash. Let's keep the dictionary words variable, but instead of storing an array inside of it, we're going to store a hash. A hash is indicated by these curly braces. Now let's put in the first word, red, which is then followed by this arrow, and then followed with its definition. We can then do a comma, put in the next word, another arrow, and then the definition for that word. So in this new hash, we have a list of two pairs of words and definitions. You can read these arrows as follows. The word red leads to this definition, and this word bug leads to this definition. Now it's easy to access any definition for any word. Let's see that in action using IRB. Let's copy and paste this dictionary words hash. Open up IRB, put it inside over here, and now if we type in dictionary words, we get this hash back with the word red, its definition, and the word bug and its definition. To find any definition, we can do as follows. Dictionary words, square brackets, and the word we're looking up. So we're basically saying, let's look inside this hash and find the word red and then return the other item in the pair that's associated with it, which is its definition. And again, we can do the same thing with the word bug. Again, even though hashes are defined with curly braces, when accessing something from the hash, you use square brackets. Now let's lay down some extra definitions at this point. Each word in this hash, meaning the entry words, are what's known as the key, and the definitions, the things that follow the arrow, are known as the value. So essentially, every hash is a list of pairs of keys and their corresponding values. And there's another thing to note about keys and values, and that is that they are one-directional, as indicated by the arrows. The key red refers to or points to the definition or the value of a very pretty color. But the reverse is not true. We don't say that a very pretty color points to the word red. And this is for a very good reason. You can perhaps imagine that we may add some other words to our dictionary. Now imagine we added the word blue and established its definition to be a very pretty color. So we wouldn't be able to say that looking up the definition of very pretty color definitely points to red, because it can also point to blue. And indeed, in any dictionary, every word is unique, but there may be multiple words that have the same definition. So it's important to know what direction things are going in. A key always points to its particular value, but a value may not point to one particular key. Let's introduce another piece of syntax. It's easy to add an additional key and value to a given hash. Let's say we wanted to add the word blue. So we do dictionary words blue equals a very pretty color. And now when we look up dictionary words, we see it has three words, red, bug, and blue, and their corresponding definitions. Now we can simply get rid of this entire if statement and return the definition for the word the user entered by using the hash. So we're going to access the hash in the dictionary words variable and look up the word that the user entered. Let's see this in action. Please enter a word to look up, bug, and we've got our definition. Now hashes have many uses besides just acting as dictionaries. Imagine that we've built a game show app, and we're at the end of the app where the user already won and now can choose a prize. In this game show, the user is presented with multiple colored boxes and doesn't know which prize is in which box. The user is given the choice to choose any color that he wants, but whatever he gets, he gets. Now imagine there's a lot of game show code that preceded our code. And now it's time for the user to choose his prize. So we're going to establish a hash that contains the data of which color box holds what prize. So let's make a variable called prizes and store inside of it a hash. And now we can ask the user which box he chooses. We'll store the user's choice inside the variable called choice, and then we can easily tell the user what he's won. We'll concatenate this statement of wow, you've won with the user's prize by accessing the prize's hash and looking up the key based on whatever color the user inputted. So if the user's choice was red, that means this choice variable is holding the string red, and we're looking that up in this prize's hash, which leads to this value, a new car. Let's see this in action. Congrats, choose a colored box. Wow, you've won a hamster. Hashes are very common and an extremely handy tool to use in many different situations, and almost every Ruby program contains many of them. They may take some time to master, but you'll get used to them over time. Definitely try to practice creating your own programs that utilize a hash. Thanks for watching Anyone Can Learn to Code.